If you ever thought about selling or trading in your vehicle, of course you want the best resale value for it.
We can't see the different shades of the paint, but they'll tell you exactly this was here, that was there, that type of thing. So put yourself in the shoes of the buyer.
But also, how do you then maintain those things and make sure that they're in tip-top shape?
So for me, that's value. And would I be willing to pay for that value? Of course I would.
If I keep it longer and longer and I'm a keeper. Disclaimer, I like keeping my cars. Welcome to WTF, WesBank Talks Finance, the podcast that turns WTF moments into knowledge that you can use to make informed financial decisions. Subscribe to get notifications when we release new episodes. If you ever thought about selling or trading in your vehicle, of course you want the best resale value for it. Now this episode is for you. I'm Lebo, and joining me in studio today is Ricardo Reddy, who is the head of sales at WesBank. Ricardo, welcome.
Thank you, Lebs.
Now, trade in value. You know, personally, I've never had to trade in a car, so I don't know what that looks like. What are the things that really influence this value?
So Lebs, I think the thing about trade-ins, right? It's all about the general and overall condition of the vehicle. But there's many factors that influence that. I think if you look at mileage, condition, as well as the age of the vehicle. So, and then just the history of the vehicle. I think a vehicle has two components. It has the mechanical aspect of it, and then it's got the more the cosmetic, you know, the condition, the actual wear and tear of the vehicle. And I think those are just the high level stuff that does really influence your trading value and basically the upkeep. So those factors will influence the pricing of the vehicle, or basically the value of your vehicle.
Okay, and I mean, why are those important?
So put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. So if you're buying a vehicle, what are you looking for, right? So you're looking for a car that's in good condition, that's got some sort of historical type of paperwork in terms of services, repairs, maintenance, that type of thing. So I always say to people, if you're looking at trying to get the best value out of your vehicle from a trading perspective, always put yourself in the shoes of somebody that's buying a vehicle. And that's why these things become important, because firstly, it gives peace of mind. And also, it allows the vehicle to be resellable, right? And the service of the vehicle is one of the most critical components of maintaining a vehicle from a mechanical perspective. So firstly, services need to be done at a reputable dealership, a manufacturer. If you miss a service, is it important? Yes, it is important. Okay. From a buyer perspective, the buyer would want to know what service it was, what were the components. So it does really add a lot of value if you maintain your services. The other part of maintenance of a vehicle is your cosmetic approach.
I was going to actually ask you to touch on that one.
100%. So that's why I said there's always two, right? It's the mechanical and then there's the cosmetic. So I'm talking scratches, dents, tears in the vehicles, those type of things. And
if I've got a scratch on my car cosmetically, who cares? Why is it
important? Well, the buyer does. Because remember, when you walk in there, you've got a value in mind, right? But it's easy for me to knock down that value because of a little scratch here, a little dent that I've got to now repair. So the maintenance of those vehicles, and there's wonderful products at the moment in the market, Lebs. There are scratch and dent repairs, those type of things that cover the exterior and the interior that you could take when you purchase your vehicle to help you maintain the look of the vehicle. And that maintenance, you get comfort that it's done at a reputable place. With some sort of a guarantee on it, especially when it comes to paintwork. So as a buyer, when I'm buying that vehicle, I've got peace of mind that it was done, firstly, professionally, just like your service is done at a reputable dealership, and that I know that the work was done with the best quality parts. So for me, that's value. And would I be willing to pay for that value? Of course I would.
But also, how do you then maintain those things and make sure that they're in tip-top shape for when you want to trade in that vehicle?
So if you're looking at mechanical, those are basically, I would think, everything under the bonnet, as well as your gearbox, right? So that your services would cover. And there are times when stuff needs to be replaced. We're talking about mechanical things, and if you, like I said, if you're doing this at a reputable place and you want to trade this vehicle in, and that's why it's always important to keep a history of your services, and also just a history, even if it's invoices of all the repairs done on the vehicle. So think about this. Now you purchasing a vehicle from somebody, and you go through the service book and you find a few invoices with repairs done on it. But when you look at this now, you've seen that these components were fixed at a reputable dealership, brand new components, so it wasn't secondhand or it wasn't generic. Wouldn't that give you peace of mind? Because people and dealerships that buy cars, pop the bonnet open, they'll be able to see what's new and what's not. And that gives them comfort. So those are the mechanical stuff. Your cosmetic stuff on the vehicle, like I said, I mean, that's scratches, dents, even your tire wear, things, those are components that are wearable and that can be maintained throughout the life of the vehicle. Paintwork is very important. If you don't match the paint, when you go to trade your car, and the first thing you see, these guys go around the car just looking at it. Now, some people that's not used to this, we can't see the different shades of the paint, but they'll tell you exactly this was here, that was there, that type of thing. So that's why it's always important to get it done at the most reputable and best place for the value of your vehicle.
Now let's talk about, as a car fanatic, I'm sure there's been instances where you bought a car and you want to pimp your ride, you want to look cool, modifications, upgrades, things that you do and change to the car. What impact do those have on the resale value?
Okay, so I'm all of that. Modifications, the custom intakes, the exhaust, you name it, the mags. There's two types for me. There's a difference in basically upgrades and modification, in my opinion. So if you're buying a 4x4 vehicle, right? When you take on extras on that vehicle, so when I say upgrades, when you're purchasing it, you would probably want to get something that is going to be in line with why you've purchased that vehicle. Okay. So I'm talking a tow bar, roof racks for camping, those type of things. Probably different set of rims and tires for off-road type of capability. So those for me are not modifications. Those are enhancements on the vehicle. So those are upgrades. They're making the car better. They're adding value and it's fit for purpose. So again, when you want to resell this, you're selling a 4x4 that's got a tow bar, it's got roof racks, it's got proper tires for off-roading. That's what the 4x4 is used for. If you're buying a little bit of a sports vehicle, like sometimes I do, and you're putting, putting a custom intake, an exhaust, a drop suspension, you're not going to get that value back because that was something I wanted. It doesn't mean that the new owner wants that, right? So
it's too personalized.
It's too personalized. Does it add value to the vehicle? Maybe if there's another enthusiast as yourself that would see the value in it. But then again, it's already on the car, right? So you've put it in, you've basically the cost, you've funded the cost. But when you're selling this, maybe the person that's buying it or the dealer that's trading it in actually wants a stock vehicle. So then you've got to go and take all of this out.
Which is again costly.
It's costly for you. And then you sit with these components. So again, those are modifications. For me, modifications is a personal choice to enjoy the pleasure of driving the vehicle, give you a little bit of a thrill, or if you're a car enthusiast, to try and make a little bit faster, smart, look better, that type of thing. But that's why I said modifications and upgrades is two different things in my mind.
Okay, so there's a thing about timing, the when. What is the best time for the resale
of your vehicle? Well,
or for the trade-in?
For the trade-in, look, there's a few different thoughts about that. I guess, Lebs, if you think about, for me personally, if you got a vehicle that's still in service plan or maintenance plan and you're coming to the end of that, I think it's always better to get more value for a vehicle that still has an active plan than something that's out of plan.
Okay.
So if you've got, for an example, a 5-year maintenance plan on your vehicle, and it's always time dependent, which is 5 years, and then it's mileage dependent, let's say 100,000 kilometers. Now, as you get closer to 100,000, the value of the vehicle starts to drop, right? Because the next person is not going to be able to have the benefit of that, and will have to take aftermarket. So I think that's where you got to get that right timing is, when is that sweet spot of the mileage and the year model. But then there's also the other component of an upgrade of that model coming out. And that can work both ways, right? Because sometimes you have a new model come out that is so much, the price difference is so much more higher that the customer that wants to buy the derivative can't reach But then the second-hand market becomes, much more lucrative. Now, your vehicle that you're sitting with might then become in demand, and maybe that's the right time to sell it, because then you could actually get a good price for it, providing it's within that period. So those are the components. I always personally, if I have a vehicle, I try and sell it while it still has some sort of a plan, or whether it's maintenance or service. It just and that's obviously one of my selling points when I go to the dealer. I said it's still got a plan or it's still got a service, because that should give them a bit of comfort that all along I've looked after it, because I've made use of it, and then it's easier to resell because the client has that advantage when he buys your vehicle.
Okay. What then happens if you want to keep it and extend the warranty or the service plan, or what does that mean for the resale value if I keep it longer and longer and I'm a keeper, disclaimer. I like keeping my cars, so maybe I'm asking more for myself than anybody else, but there might be other keepers out there.
So I'm a keeper. I've got a 2007 Opel that I have, Lebu, and in my mind it's worth a certain amount. And in people who have similar minds like me, it's worth that amount. It's 2007. The mileage is still roughly decent, and I still believe it can fetch a fair market price. So there's nothing wrong with holding on to a vehicle. I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder what he perceives the value to be of that vehicle. And often you start to see these things turn in the industry where there's a lot of vintage and old cars that start to fetch good prices. So yeah, if you're a hoarder, and I'm one like that, absolutely, you can hold on to it, but again, it's how you maintain it. So when you look out in the market now on old cars, there's some that are very good condition and there's some not. So those that are maintained, and especially original, a lot of these guys that buy these vintage cars or these older models, they want the car to be original. To have the original rims on it, the original sort of radio parts, those type of things. And that is what I think maintains the value of that. And so if you can keep your car in basically the original condition, as you get older, we understand things, parts become less available. But as best as possible, if you can keep your car in original condition, and I think that will help you maintain the resale value of it.
What about everyday cars? And what I mean, if you want to replace a part with an unoriginal part, what's the impact?
So, Lebu, firstly, it apart from the value of the vehicle, I know we're talking trade-in value and resale value, but just the overall functionality of it. In this day and age, with the vehicles we have, there's ample amount of parts available. So it's not like with the the vintage stuff where you can't find the original part anymore. So you may have to accept aftermarket or secondhand. But in this day and age, with the amount of products we have available and the cars, the parts are readily available. So I would recommend that no matter what, you go for original parts for today's vehicles. You make sure it has these just no reason apart from a cost perspective of why you would go with a generic or an aftermarket part. It will enhance the vehicle, the value of the vehicle, but it will also maintain the overall performance of the vehicle. Imagine you've got some new original components and then you're putting in some aftermarket or second-hand components, that's probably more worn than this and takes more strain. So it can have numerous effects. But if you want to maintain the value of your vehicle, stick to original parts. I mean, if I'm looking to buy a vehicle and I look at the parts on the vehicle and I see some of it is not manufacturer spec, it would immediately I would either want to replace it. So I would offer lower because I want to replace it to the original part and I guess when you're buying to sell, like a dealer that's trading in a car, he's thinking along the same lines, right? Because you still have to sell that vehicle. So you don't want to have a customer that wants to buy that vehicle to say, well, why does it have these parts? So original for me is best. Think long term. Okay. Original for me is best, and it'll give you more ability to negotiate on the price.
Sure. Now, when we shop for a new vehicle, you shop around. At least we encourage people, take your time, do your research, shop around. Can I do the same when I'm trying to trade in my car? Do I shop around, have different values to compare? Is that recommended?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a great point that you make. Doing your research will quickly give you an idea of what the market is worth and what your vehicle is worth. I mean, there's lots of platforms online that you can go and, search for vehicles to kind of get an understanding of what your current vehicle is selling for. And I think once you have that with a bit of knowledge of going to a few dealerships and a few places for offers, I think then you'll understand what the actual value of your vehicle is. And like I said, what will separate your vehicle from the other ones is your service history, the maintenance of your vehicle, and the overall condition. So definitely, shopping while selling is definitely, for me, it's a yes.
Sure. Okay. And in closing, Ricardo, what are the top 3 tips, that you can give to people who are tuned in when they're thinking of, trading in their car and getting the best value? 3 top tips, if I can put it that way.
So for me, Lebs, I think if you're taking your car in for the trading, make sure that it's in a good condition. Wash the car, valet it if need be, so that when you're taking it to somebody to assess, it's in the best possible condition that it can be. And I think that's the first thing, is to always when you're taking your car, make sure that it's in proper condition. The second thing is, when you are maintaining your car, rather spend the money up front, because you're likely to get it back later on when you sell the car. I guess you get what you pay for, right? So if you do it properly and you do it at the right, reputable places, it should give you long-term value, and I think that's important. And then lastly, keep everything. If you can, keep all the documentation, keep the service history, which you have a book for. Like I said, if you have any sort of repairs or maintenance or enhancements that you've done, try and keep the receipts. The receipts can help you argue the point in terms of, the fact that it was original parts, it was done properly. And that gives the buyer or the person trading in the vehicle some sort of comfort that this vehicle was really looked after and it was maintained properly. So I think those are the 3 main things for me that would really give you good value, trading value.
Thanks, Ricardo. Yeah, no, I've certainly learned a lot as somebody who has never had to trade in a car. Really great tips, really insightful. And I'm hoping that, people who are tuned in found value.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. That episode certainly enlightened me, and I know where to go when I want to trade in my car. For you who are tuning in, we hope that it has impacted you with the right information for your next trade-in. Now share those stories when you eventually do that trade-in. We would love to hear every single one of them. You're welcome to also leave a comment and suggest future topics, and who knows, we might feature it on the podcast. I'm Lebo. Until next time. Thanks for listening. We hope that you found it useful. Now go and subscribe to be notified when our next informative episode is available.